So my Story Editor Studio program is a once a year thing. It's a very rare program in the world. I know because when I started teaching it, there was actually no other program in the world. Now I know that there is one at UCLA Extension, which started after mine. Of course, we're all very different because I teach from my experience as a story consultant. My first cohort in this program, I'm just pre-interviewing for my 5th cohort. It's once a year because that's what the market demands. It's an international program. I won't let more than 20 people into the class because we got to all have our our time to develop our voices as story editors. But usually we get about 10 to 12. That's usually the number of the cohorts that we've had so far. I debuted this class at the Pacific Screenwriting Program in Vancouver in the year, was it 2022 or 2021? It was around that year. And then that year I had, that was our test run. And that year I did have a second cohort. And then ever since, it's been once a year. If you don't know what story editors do, there is a title called story editor in a TV writer's room. That's a junior writing position. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm talking about story consultants who work with writers and producers at early stages, usually at early stages of the work. And we see through the development of the script through to production. It really depends. I've been hired at very late stages, right before a production is going to camera, or I've been hired right from the log line conception stage. So it really, really depends. But we are, someone said, is it the same thing as people who give notes for, screenwriting, coverage notes for screenwriting competitions and for producers? No, it's beyond that. I have had students who, alumni of this program, who did that for a living before joining me, but story editors have much more of a creative voice and vision for the project. We work directly with the writer to understand their vision for the project and where they want it to be, and help them execute a draft, through coaching and sometimes through actual rewriting as well. If you rewrite, it's a different price point. Sorry, I'm looking over there to see if I can see you on Instagram yet. No. Okay. So I will, sorry, Instagram, you're seeing me kind of in profile. Okay, I don't see questions on that feed. Hi, Monty. So we do work with the writer to get them to a marketable draft of their screenplay or teleplay. Sometimes we are involved in the creation of the pitch deck. I just worked with one of my last clients, actually it was so exciting. I can't really say too much about it other than Netflix just greenlit dozens of episodes. So I'm really super excited for him and the producer that he ended up teaming up with after our story edit. This can happen. It happens because we're accelerating the process with the writer, meaning we're hopefully the benefit of hiring a story editor at all, also called a story consultant in union terms, because I'm in the Writers Guild of Canada. It's a WGA, WGC sort of title. We've been called script consultants, story consultants, depending on the amount of writing we do. We would get a writing credit sometimes, depending on, there's script doctors, which are also an even higher level than a story editor because they're basically rewriting the whole script. That's an even different level. So it's not the same thing as coverage, though. If you have those skills of coverage, it's a good start to as background for this program. Someone, when I first announced the course, I remember posting it in the Screenwriters group on Facebook, and someone said, that's not a thing. So they were obviously a writer who had never worked with a story consultant before, because it is a union job. There's also plenty of non-union story consultants and story editors that come in at different points in the process. So one of the reasons I created the program in the first place was that we weren't talking to each other. Like, we were so isolated from each other that, we didn't have, also because even the union designation for story editors and story consultants, there's no minimum fee. There's only minimums if you write, but to do the coaching and consulting, we set our own rates. So the rates were wildly different certainly across Canada and also across the US. Most of the countries that have taken this program have been the US, Canada, the UK, and different European nations have all trained with me in this program over the years. And people have had wildly different ideas of the responsibilities and the sort of potential of the work, and also how to cost out their work. So in the training, it's not only the creative training on how to take a script to the next level using the writer's vision as a guide, so that you're not writing a different project, you're not coaching them towards writing a different project than they even want to make, but just becoming part of their vision and trying to get the best work out of them in the shortest amount of time. So people hire people like me to get there faster, to get to market readiness faster when they go to camera, just to amplify the potential of the script to the maximum degree before either before bringing it to a producer, or if a producer knows, listen, we're going to camera in like 6 months, we got to go faster on the development, they'll bring in someone like me to work with the writer or to work with a development room. It's been a really incredible process teaching this class over the years, because I've just seen people accelerate, and I've also seen a community really start to develop, which is great. Because that's one thing that story editors didn't have before, was really a community where we could talk to each other. You'll see interviews with some of my alumni. I'm starting to interview my alumni on their life after the program in my screenwriting playlist on my YouTube channel. And you can get a real sense of the possibilities. A part of the program, yes, that's what I was saying, besides the creative aspect and the technical aspects of how to analyze a script and what sort of ways you can tap into the writer's creativity and how you can assess the market readiness of a script. I also teach you guys in that program how to establish a business and how to get clients. It's a big part of the puzzle. Obviously, we're freelancers in a way that in a sense, we're freelancers even more than writers sometimes, but there's much more work in my experience, there's been much more work for story consultants than for screenwriters. People are like, they don't realize to the extent to which development is always happening. The trick to set up your story editor's business is people have to trust you. They have to trust your opinion. So because I've had another life as a script supervisor, very high level in the world, over 30 years, people have been sending me their scripts for decades for my feedback. And as a script supervisor in that life, I was certainly able to pick hits before they were hits. I know how to read a screenplay. What was one of my superpowers as a script supervisor. I famously tell the story of my Big Fat Greek Wedding, when I read that script, and I had many options that year of what to work on, or that month in that year. I think it was 1999 when we shot that, something like that. And that movie was paying the least, but I read that script and I went, this is a hit. This is going to be a massive hit, and it's going to change the face of my career. And when I spoke with the director, it was clear to me that this was the project I need to be on. So that superpower of being able to see the potential in a script is something I took with me into my writing career, and certainly into my story consulting career. And I'm proud that I've had so many clients sell shows, and I'm proud that I was on one of the many creatives along the way that helped them get there. And I love teaching other people how to do this. So that we have, I get many professionals in the program too, people who are already professional story consultants, who already have a client list, who already are doing it, but they might be undercharging, or they might not know how to build beyond their current list of clients, or they just might not have ever trained and have been working intuitively. And that's fair. I mean, most of us, that's how we start. We work intuitively. It's just because I'm a natural born teacher, you'll see I have courses in, if you don't know, comedy screenwriting for film and television, script supervision, visual storytelling for directors. I have a number of, that's one other one of my superpowers is, simplifying complex concepts in a way that is you can replicate the process. You can adapt. I'm very, I train creatives. I also train creatives in online business. So I know that there's not one way to skin a cat. I just like to give you the wings to fly, and a big part of this program is the practicum, which is another reason I can really only offer it once a year, because it involves an incredible amount of time from me, as well as from the people in it. So the next dates for Story Editor Studio for 2025 are January 26th to March 30th. We meet every Sunday. The first 3 weeks are the training. So the training is pre-recorded and you have access to it for life. It's about 10 hours of training, but we will meet those 3 weeks for Q&A. So you can absorb sort of the creative, technical, and business training that I'm giving you guys in that preliminary. It's because the bulk of what you're going to learn is going to be in the practicum, which is the following 7 Sundays. So our Q&A will be 90 minutes on Sundays, 3 to 4:30. And then the last 7 weeks, we're going to be story editing 14 scripts of all different genres and lengths. So we'll do half-hour pilots, 1-hour pilots, feature films, feature treatments. We might stick an MOW in there. It just depends on the scripts I get. And by the time, and we do verbal and written notes, I encourage everyone to do a combination of both, so I can give you feedback on both. But you will see, well, the beautiful thing I see is that by the end of the program, by March 30th, you will all have developed to some extent, and probably to a large extent, your voice as a story consultant, as a story editor, because one of the biggest things about this job is having enough volume of work to develop your voice, right? And to practice working directly with the writer, knowing what questions to ask them when you start, and how to complete the relationship. It's never the end of the relationship, because hopefully they'll keep rehiring you, or they'll rehire you at different steps of the process. But you want to, if you don't have a high volume, if you're already a working story editor or a development executive, or anyone who has to continually give writers feedback, the hardest thing is to get that body of first scripts in which to develop your voice. And that problem is solved within the Story Editor Studio, because we'll work on 2 every week, a total of 14. How are we getting these scripts? That's a great question. So everyone in the program actually gets first dibs. Do you want to bring in a script that you wrote or that one of your clients has written? Either way, everyone gets first dibs, as long as you tell me by January 6th that you want to bring in a script. I'll need the log line, and I'll need the type of script and the genre. And then I'll schedule, because I'm going to schedule like a whole array of different types, so that we can get experience in all different formats, train you guys in all different formats as well. I'm very, very, as a writing teacher, if you don't already know this, I'm very, very focused on character work. So that's going to be a big focus of sort of what I teach you guys. If you haven't trained in doing the character work in some of your previous writing courses, and I do expect you guys to have writing experience, or to have experience working closely with writers so that you can speak their language. We'll talk about that in a sec. But you get first dibs on bringing a script in. And all the writers in the program, whether it's 10 of us or 20 of us, you have to get your certification. There is a certification aspect to this program. You have to work on at least 10 of the 14 scripts. So you have to give notes to at least 10 of the 14 scripts to get the certification. It's just a personal marker of achievement. I don't think it actually means anything to anyone except the person who knows that they achieved it. So if you get the certification at the end, it means you've done the work of having given verbal and or written notes, a combination of both, to screenwriters. I keep checking that Instagram, hoping that if there are comments that they will pop up on the screen. If not, join me over at YouTube, where I can actually see the comments. And by the way, if you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, please do type in a question in the chat, or just say hello so I know you're there. It says I have 3 people. Okay. And if you don't, and it's okay if you don't come in with a script, because I have a whole, obviously I have very robust training programs. I've got about 100 writing students right now. with at different levels of some of them are quite experienced writers. So we have scripts that we can draw from. I also draw from scripts in the professional community through Inc. Canada, which is an amazing Facebook group if you're not a member. And so people do submit scripts for our story editors to work on, because what's the benefit for them? Well, I mean, we're all going to sign an NDA in the program. We're not allowed to share the scripts outside of the program, obviously. But it's a free story edit. So if you bring in your own or your clients for us to work on in the script in the program, that is worth more. That will cost you more than the tuition of the program itself. The tuition right now, because we're only in our 5th year, is $997 US. So that I've easily people can spend a lot more than that on a professional story edit with one person. And so you'll get notes from multiple people. So I think it's a no-brainer if it's something that you do or are interested in or want to know more about. However, not everybody can take this class. Obviously, I don't want people to be lost. I did have someone who was a working story editor who joined, was it last year or the year before? And he was totally lost. He said, I could not keep up with the people giving notes. I hadn't learned, because he had never been trained even as a screenwriter. So he was a working story editor who didn't have a lot of the training that a lot of the people in the program even had who weren't working story editors. So I don't want anyone to be lost. So I do a pre-interview. So if you are interested in being in the 2025 cohort or any future cohort, reach out to me. Hold on, I'm going to post a few banners today. So you can first of all, I'm going to post the banner to the sales page. There we go. Story Editor Studio. You can't just pay for the course and I'll have to refund your money, or at least have the pre-interview with you. On that page, though, you'll see my email address where you can reach out to me to book a pre-interview. It's only 20 minutes. Well, I'll know in 20 minutes if you're ready. I'm going to be totally honest with you if you're ready for this program or not. And listen, you don't have to be a screenwriter. I've had plenty of success stories in that program who were not screenwriters, but they, for instance, they were film jurors. They were high-level film jurors. They were directors. They were producers. They were people who had to continuously give writers notes, and a couple of them were TV picture editors. So they would work with the showrunner or the writer and the director, and they were actually, both of them, astoundingly good story editors. So because picture editors have that role of having, and a couple of them, and the two that did it also made the point that sometimes they get multiple feature films, and they're like, how do I choose what is a good script? So the Story Editor Studio kind of helped them see like what scripts are closer to market ready than not. So I'm open, obviously I'm open to people beyond screenwriter. I just don't want you to be lost. So in that pre-interview, I'll ask you about what kind of training you've had so far. You don't have to have gone to university for screenwriting. In fact, some of the best writers and story editors I know never did, but they've had other kinds of training and experience in screenwriting. I'll ask you about that stuff. I'll ask you your understanding about character work and about plot, how you understand some of them. There's popular paradigms that our clients come to us with, like Save the Cat or the sequence approach. There's so many paradigms that people use. We have to at least understand them in order to be able to serve our clients. But you don't have to be the world's leading expert in them. I just want to understand how you understand structure and how you understand character. So that's what I'll ask you in the interview. I'll ask you your expectations of the program as well. I just want to make sure it's a good fit for you and for me, and that you won't get lost in the group. That's the only reason for that pre-interview. It helps us have, like, the cohorts have been incredible. It just helps us have a cohort that's at a certain level and can develop and grow together, which I find. So sometimes the people who have the least experience actually conceiving of the script verbally are the directors, but they arguably may need this course more than anybody, but they're usually the ones that have the harder time sort of keeping up with the rest of the group. But I still see them catching up. So this is the arc of I'm doing the arc of seasons have an arc, stories have an arc. There's an arc to your growth as a story consultant, and I see them catch up in that arc, even directors. So I will probably accept you into the program, even if you're a director who doesn't have a lot of writing experience, but you have some understanding of structure. And I've taken chances on people who had no formal training of any kind or experience, but they were film fanatics who really understood story as a film fan, and actually they did okay. They did really well even. So yeah, it's all. I just want you to think about it before registering. I just don't want, it's not random. This is the only one of my programs that I teach that has a prerequisite. Well, besides writer's room, where in my writer's rooms, you have to pre-train with me in film or television to do writer's room with me, but that's it. None of my other courses really have a prerequisite, and it's for the benefit of you and us in the program. Does anyone have questions beyond, and I'll have more to say about it. It is a lot of homework. So it's probably, if you're working on 2 scripts a week in the practicum section, you're talking about 5 hours, probably 5 to 6 hours a week of homework. And our classes run from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday afternoons. We have, so far we have students in, so far we have students in that I've accepted in Budapest, London, a few in Canada, and one in the UK, and I hope for more in all those countries, and also in the US. Normally we have many Americans. So I'm looking forward to, I'm sure we'll have more Americans. I've let 5 people in. There's 15 spots left maximum. I'm happy if we get to 10. A 10 to 12 is a nice number for me in there. And I mean, 20 is also a nice number, but listen, if there's just 5 of you left, the pre-interviews are going on until January 6th. I hope to have the cohort announced by January 6th. The program doesn't start until the 26th. So if it's after January 6th, you can reach out to me. There's my email address is on the bottom of that sales page, and just reach out to me and say, do you have any spots left? And can we do a pre-interview? I'll have the schedule of practicum kind of figured out that week. So if you're a writer who wants to actually submit your script to me for our story editors to break down, what's involved for you is I'll get everyone to sign an NDA so you understand, and then I hope that I need your logline and genre and your script. When the script is accepted, send the script, because I can't program every single script necessarily. I'm trying to vary the genres, vary the types, and also I'll only know how many slots I have available for people who are not in the program to submit scripts once I know how many we have in the program and how many of those people want to submit scripts, because they get first dibs. So if you're not in the program, just reach out to me and say, I have like a 1-hour dramedy. Here's the log line for your consideration. I don't read them. It's not based on the quality, because I love every kind of quality is great for my writers, for my story editor studio participants, because that's what happens when you're a story editor. You get scripts of varying quality levels, and it's our job to help every single writer get to where they want to be. We all understand that writing is a process. So no, it's not based on the quality of the script, just that you have a script, that you have a log line and a vision for it. We do pre-interviews with the writers, meaning like every let's say you're scheduled on March 4th. I don't even know if that's a Sunday, but let's say that's your day that you're scheduled. At least 2 weeks before that, one of the writers will pre-interview you and record it on Zoom and play it for the class. So everyone will have an understanding of your intention with your project. And then you would show up to, let's say your date was March 4th, you would show up for your story edit and you would hear all our notes live on the Zoom. If you can, not everybody can always attend, but it's really, really beneficial to attend that, because then you can you mostly are listening at that point, but then you can answer questions, or it's been I've seen it help so many writers who go through this process with the story editors get there faster, much as they would if they paid money to hire a story editor. But a lot of the writers who submit scripts to us, they don't have the funds to do that. So this is a way to get a story edit. So yeah, if you send me an email with that information around January 6th is the cutoff time where I'm going to start to schedule the projects. So then I'll get back to you and say, congratulations, we have a spot for you. Are you available on this date? And then some people will give you written and some people will give you verbal notes. And that's sort of how it works. I've seen so many people, well, I've seen a few people become clients of some of the story editors they got to work with in class, because it's your way of experiencing a story editor style. You might grab, there's not one way to be a story editor, right? We all have different strengths and weaknesses. We all have a different voice. It's one of the things I'm encouraging you guys to develop inside of Story Editor Studio is your voice as a story consultant, and people will resonate with different story editors. That's why there's never enough of us. There's really never enough of us, I think, in the marketplace, because you'll choose your story editor as a writer for entirely different reasons, and which may or may not have anything to do with whether they're union or non-union, whether they are. And by the way, in Canada, you can hire me as a union story editor without having to be beholden to the WGC for all the other writing positions or for any other project. It's not like when you are a signatory to like ACTRA or SAG, it's a little bit different. So you can easily fluidly hire a story editor who's union or non-union, and we have both in my alumni community. If you are ever looking for a story editor, please reach out, because I can connect you. I can certainly connect you to one of my grads. I'm just going to see if there's any questions on the Instagram feed. It's not showing. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong thing. One sec. No questions that I can see on the Instagram feed. Okay. So I'm trying to think. If you have questions, I'm here for it. Please go ahead and type them in the chat. I'm not seeing any Instagram, or I think I'm only not seeing any Instagram comments. What else? I told you about the structure of the course. I told you about the expectations of the homework. It is once a year. So if you can't do it this year, I'll announce dates for next year. I usually only do them in January or April. It really depends on the kind of production year I'm having, because I also still work on set sometimes. And although I probably will be working the weekdays of our cohort this year, but it's okay. I will have weekends off. But sometimes I'm really like in deep somewhere in another country. Last year, part of our cohort, I was shooting in Italy. The hours are so short in Italy compared to in Canada. I'm just trying to think yeah. And so this year I have a bonus. So for the people that have already accepted and the people who have paid, you're still going to get this bonus. I'm going to add that. So I have a swag shop. Here's something from my swag shop. This is like a tumbler for coffee or cold drinks, where it's got all different designs on it. This is for my script supervisors. So Director Whisperer is my brand. I have a Writer Whisperer one, and I have the Script Doctor is in. There's all different designs. Unfortunately, for some reason, the designs are not showing up when you look on the collections and you click on the Script Doctor is in and Writer Whisperer. Not all the designs are up. I'm going to get my assistant to fix that. But hopefully, if you're seeing this talk later, you can choose. And all that to say, if you end up joining us at Story Editor Studio, you will get these shipped to you anywhere in the world that you are. Oh yeah, I forgot to say that we have New Zealand as well in the program. So I wasn't sure if the time zone was going to work from 2 to 5, but the New Zealand students said it was perfect, because it would be a Monday morning for them at like 8 o'clock. So I can't remember which city in New Zealand. So yes, we also have New Zealand in the picture. In the past, I've had Australia and New Zealand in the program as well. I forgot to say that. So yeah, if you look at any of the designs on my Cup of Jokes page, bit.ly/Cup of Jokes, it'll take you to the page. That's your bonus, shipped to you anywhere in the world, any design you want. I have 3 different kinds. I have like ceramic mugs. I have these tumblers, and I have like traveler mugs with like secure lids. These ones have like a drinky hole. A drinky hole, is that a word? Anyway, I'll put that on the page for the course, because I just added that today. So the people who've already been accepted and paid for the course, you're getting that too. You just have to let me know your design choice, and it will be yours. By the way, if you're in Canada, we're having a terrible postal strike, so you'll have to wait till after the postal strike to get yours mailed, but you will be entitled to one as well. Any questions either about what story editors do, some of the, I think I've talked about everything. everything to do with what I wanted to say, that the most common questions I get. Any questions? How long have I been talking? Only 33 minutes. That's actually short for me. Well, in any case, do feel free to reach out. I'll go back to the banner that has the course page. Do feel free to reach out on email. Yeah, with it, whether you have questions, the pre-interviews keep going. They only take 20 minutes at a time. If I say you're not ready yet, it's for your benefit for sure. I can tell you the steps that I think you'll need to take to be ready. In my opinion, it's always my opinion, but I have a lot of teaching experience. I have decades of teaching experience, so I can probably give you a reasonable sense of how ready you are to be a story editor, to train it, and like I said, the person who I had misjudged, I based it on the fact that he had already been working as a story editor and he felt very lost. I don't want anyone to be lost. He said he's coming back, by the way, because he also, like me, works as a script supervisor and story editor. And all throughout the strikes last year, all his paid work was as a story editor, which, if you're a script supervisor, by the way, this is a fantastic compliment to your script supervision career. But you do have to have some writer training and writer experience, or both. I think beyond what we do as script supervisors, because we have to speak the language of writers to excel in this career, right? And you'll get to go deeper in that into my course, but I want you to come in. We're not starting at 000. I can't. And also you'll also, by the way, I can start you at 0 in my writing programs. If you look on the link tree in my bio on YouTube, you'll see all the courses I offer. And From Chic to Script is my TV writing program. Listen, I teach through the lens of comedy because that's who I am, but I have 40% of my students easily do not write comedy. They just like the process and the sort of community that we have. And Make Them Laugh for 90 Minutes is the feature film training program. If you're starting from 000 and think, okay, in the future, I'd like to be a story consultant, definitely consider training in one of those programs with me or with someone else, so that you get the foundational aspects of screenwriting, so that you can talk to other screenwriters and so that they'll respect you and they'll understand that you understand them. This is not kind of a job where you can fake it till you make it. It's really not. It's less like with my other job of script supervision. I hear people say, well, I faked it till I made it. You're going to take so much longer to get there if you do that. And you're not going to be serving your clients very well. Okay, any questions? No questions at all. Usually when I'm live, I get a barrage of questions. Let me see if there's anything popping up on Instagram. Nope, I just see people tuning in, but no questions, or at least they're not showing up on my feed. Oh, there you go. Tomato Nato. Hey, Daniela, a little question about narrative structure. What's your take on Save the Cat? Oh, great question. I think that I don't believe in rules. I believe in tools. And I think Save the Cat is one of those tools that has served writers very well. I think on its own, it can be a hollow shell. I think this, listen, not only about Save the Cat, I think this about any sort of a writing paradigm. So I'm very, very about the character work, and I start with character. I have people start with a general premise. I have a thing I do. The next one's coming up in January called the 5-Day Personal Film and TV Comedy Series and Feature Film Premise Creation Challenge. I get people to get to their personal premise in that challenge, but they don't get to their plot there. That's like your personal premise, the story you need to tell right now. I get people either to start there or start with the character work, but definitely the next step is not going into the plot, it's into the character work. So Save the Cat doesn't really give you the opportunity to do that on its own. So on its own, I think it's a helpful tool once you're structuring your story. If you are a writer who doesn't have an intuitive sense of sort of structure in Western culture. And listen, we have evolved beyond the sort of their formula. Like I said, they're formulas, but the trick is in knowing the formulas so well that you can talk to other writers. As a story editor, we have to understand Save the Cat, sequence approach. We have to understand as many of the paradigms that are out there so we can understand what our writer is thinking. And I have seen that tool help a lot of writers. And so I'm actually pro Save the Cat. My caveat is please don't use it alone. It's going to make for a hollow shell of a formulaic script. if you don't imbue it with, the qualities that are needed to make it a character-driven script. That's my bias as a writer and as a teacher, but I think it's the reason that I have been able to do really well and that my writers have been able to do it. We have, for being such a relatively small program in the world, we have a nice number of first-time writers getting their films and scripts optioned in this program, and my private story editing clients even more so. And you agree? Yeah, right. And I think people who know, they really do agree, because especially, I don't know if you have any sort of acting experience, but usually actors make fantastic writers because they understand dialogue and they understand what building a character actually means and how that impacts everything else about the story. So in my writing programs and also in Story Editor Studio, because I do get a number of writers who've never studied character work or character development, like I that is in the program, because I feel like that's the biggest gap in most people's training. And it's also 90% of the fix. If people are really having a hard time, if your clients are having a really hard time with their cracking the plot and every other aspect really of their script, 90% of the time the fix is in the character work. I have a video about that on my YouTube channel. You have a literary background and just started. Oh, great. Yeah, great. Yes, obviously, some of my most successful students in my writing programs have been authors and novelists, because you guys have a really innate sense of a lot of the skills are definitely transferable. So I'm trying to think if I had any story editors who came from the literary world. No, just my writing students. Some of the bigger ones, that like the ones that have gone on to solid careers in screenwriting, started out as novelists when they came to me. But yeah, usually with my clients and with the Story Editor Studio cohort, it's mostly screenwriters and producers. But it would be cool. I think that people who have written and published novels, like, one of my most successful students, she had just published her first novel when she came to my TV writing program in 2012. So, and now she's got, I don't know, 6 or 7 sort of big novels. Yeah, great question. Tomato NATO. I can only see your code name. I don't know what your real name is, but thank you for that question. Anyone else? And again, like, you're going to see different people. The only other course I've been able, actually, one of the people that's in the program coming up told me he did take a story analysis course at NFTS in the UK, but it sounds like it's not as comprehensive in terms of the amount of work that you do in the program. But like, so there is a program at NFTS in the UK, which I'm guessing costs a lot more because their script supervision program costs a lot more than mine, and they have a lot fewer time. Franz Kafka was a huge cinephile. Yeah. Oh, was he? Okay, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, of course. I think I knew that, actually. Yeah. There's visual storytelling, and there's a way to that directors have to understand, that I teach in a visual storytelling program that I teach for directors and also for script supervisors. But the novelists and screenwriters also have to learn how to write visually, cinematically, and story editors, that's part of the thing we can tap into, depending on, sometimes we're hired at, I've been hired by directors. So I was hired, I have a student in Slovenia, she's not a student anymore. She was one of my script supervision students who became a director, and she wrote and directed like a 1 million euro kind of movie in the UK. And she hired me to story edit right before she went to camera. So we got into sort of the visual, we also got into sort of the setting up the visuals, because we could, right? Because, I was her directing teacher at one point. Leela, love your screenwriting course, Daniela. And that's after writing both screenplays and, oh yeah, that's right. Leela, I forgot. But you're also, yes, you're in my writing program. Leela was one of the many novelists who have been in my writing program. I've had some like huge writers, huge novelists in that program. It's really kind of humbling, the people who find me. By the way, I'm always honored when you guys find me. It's always like such an amazing pleasure to meet the caliber of people that come to me. Like, I'm so honored. It's incredible. I'm just seeing if there's any Instagram. A lot of people are allegedly tuned in on Insta, but we're not getting their comments and questions. If you're on Instagram and you have questions, just pop over to my YouTube or LinkedIn. Um, Leela's on LinkedIn. Anyone else? I'm happy to stay on as long as there are questions. And yes, I'm giving away swag this year. I just thought the Writer Whisper ones especially. I love that. My company name is Director Whisper because it started out with my script supervision program, but Writer Whisper is appropriate for story editors, I think. I have a gazillion designs. I don't know why half of them haven't shown up on, because we switched, we left Etsy and we went over to our own kind of website, and I think all the designs haven't transferred over, but they'll be up soon. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sure, like, if you have questions later on, I'm here for it. I hope to see some of you in the program, if not this year, then in the 2026 cohort. It's been really a joy, not only to see people's voices develop within the program, but then to be able to see them start businesses and build their client list after the program. There's interviews with some of my alumni, and I'll continue those streams of interviews when I have a chance to. But I have 6 of my alumni interviewed on 2 different, it's called Story Editors Roundtable on my YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm doing a talk tomorrow, but it's not for my writers. It's for film parents. So I'll be live at 5 p.m. EST tomorrow, talking to parents of people graduating film programs. I'm going to give them the talk, guys. I usually give it to my films, the film students that are graduating. It's for the parents. But let me know if you have any requests for live things you would like me to discuss. I'm really focused right now on pulling together that 2025 cohort for Story Editor Studio. So definitely, if you have any story editing content you want me to cover, please let me know. There's a bunch of other videos about story editing on my playlist as well. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.